Hello everyone and welcome to episode 89 of the Cherry Heart podcast. I'm Sandra and this is a crafty podcast about crochet. Oh hello, I've got a visitor already. Crochet, knitting, sewing and any other crafty bits and bobs I get up to. How are you? I'm okay. We've had a funny couple of weeks here though actually. I almost haven't podcast because normally I would have podcast last week, but I really hadn't made much progress on anything and there wasn't really an awful lot to show you. So I thought I'd leave it another week. And to be honest, the situation hasn't really changed much, but a little bit of progress has been made, so I'm going to try and share that with you. But I'm trying something new today as well. I've got a different camera and microphone set up. Yeah, so it's a bit of a test, so I don't know how well it'll work out, but we will see, I guess. I've also got, it's very nice here today. It's quite humid, but the sun is out at the moment, so it's quite nice. But a lot of people are sort of out in their gardens and it's been quite noisy, so I don't know how it'll get on, but I've had to have the door open because it's quite stuffy in here, so we will see. I shall begin. So I have actually completed some things, which feels like a bit of a minor miracle at the moment. So I'll start as I normally do with some socks. So here are the socks I've completed. Ooh. Going to have that whole thing of how to show things again, aren't we? So these are my Flora socks. They're by This Handmade Life, and the pattern includes 3 different options. So this pattern here was called Meadow Sweet, I believe it was called. I might just hold up one for a moment because I think that'll be easier. Yes, I'm speechless all of a sudden. I don't know what to say, do I? I've shown you this before, so if you've been here for a previous podcast, there's not much new to say other than I finished with them. And the yarn that I used was called I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, and it's a Herbstblatt Regina yarn, but she's no longer dyeing. It's Gold Stellina. I don't know if the cameras actually will be able to pick that up or not. Yes, but the pattern is this stitch pattern I really love. It's really cute. I didn't continue it up the leg because although I don't normally like to leave the back plain, I normally prefer to do the pattern all the way round. Because this has got some cabling on it, I thought it might tighten up the circumference of the sock too much because my ankles aren't very shapely, so I thought I don't want to make it too tight there because it will just pull across, sort of stretch the stitches out too much, so I thought I would just leave it plain, and they fit quite nicely, so that's okay. They're a toe-up sock, which isn't my favourite to do. I would much prefer cuff down, but I like this pattern so much that I thought I would try and stick to the pattern, so I did everything pretty much exactly as the pattern said, I think, as I recall. The only trouble I had slightly was with the bind off. So it said to do a sewn bind off, and on one of these socks I followed one tutorial. This was the first one I did. I don't know if you'll see any difference. That was a very pink tutorial, which was lovely and easy to follow, but it does mean this is flared out slightly. You can't tell on the blocker, and I guess it makes no difference when I wear it either, so maybe it doesn't matter, but I did find I couldn't sort of get my tension quite right for it. Oh, that's gone out of focus now, hasn't it? I dare say that would come with practice though. And then this one was from the Pearl Soho site, I think. And it was a lot more complicated to do, but I found it easier to get a sort of Focusing is going to be an issue now, isn't it, because new camera. I found it a lot easier to get an even tension with that. So once I'd finally sort of mastered it, I did kind of prefer that one. But then, as I don't really knit toe-up socks that much, maybe it's just academic, really. But yes. So I finished that. The other thing I finished is my Nikki Franklin embroidery. So it's the vintage beehive embroidery. It's very hard to see because I have to put it over my face so it doesn't focus on my face, but then I can't see if it's in focus at all. Yes, so I've finished that embroidery now. There it is. Hoping that if that's nicely in focus you'll be able to see it better than normal. Yes. So I've completed that now. As you can see, I've still got it on the ring. So I need to take it off and, you know, it's all a bit dishevelled. I need to undishevel it. But I would like to use it in something. I want to make something else out of it rather than just leave it in the hoop as decorative, which I have done before, and it does look very cute. I'd quite like to use it on something, but I don't really know what. So yeah, I don't know. I have sort of been thinking about it a little while, but nothing quite right has come to me yet. So I don't know. And then the only other thing I finished is my living room curtains. I meant to tell you about this last time, but I forgot. And I haven't got my living room curtains here to show you, obviously. So I'm going to try and put in a bit of footage. But it was quite hard to get any footage, actually, because, you know, curtains against the window, and then that's quite hard to capture with the whole light issues. But, yeah, I've done my best to try and show you. But basically, I made a load of the Attic 24 little balls, and the finishing touch this is, and now they're nice and full length, and yes, I've got these little bubbles on, so I'm quite happy with how that turned out. Not so happy with how long it took me to do it, which was months and months and months of ignoring it, but yeah, I did eventually get around to it, so that's good. And what else have I done? Oh, I have done a tutorial, actually. So my Battenberg blanket, again, I'll shove a picture in so you know what I'm talking about. I've been seeing a whole load of those been popping up lately on Instagram, which is really lovely. So a lot of people have seemed to be starting them lately, and or sort of bringing ones they've started out again. I think it's this whole sort of lockdowns kind of spurred some people on to find a simple project to work on, or use up sort of scraps of yarn that they've already got, which obviously the Battenberg is quite good for. Yeah, so it's prompted me, because I've been getting a few questions about it, it's prompted me to actually get a tutorial up for how I do my little solid granny squares. So it's a actually I've got some here. This is the little squares I was using in the tutorial. Yeah, so I do a 3 round granny. This is in huge yarn. I just realised I'm looking at that screen, I'm not looking at this again, I'm not used to looking at the lens. Sorry. Yes, I've been doing a tutorial for these. I've been meaning to do one for the longest time. I did one for how I did the joining. So this kind of how I was joining as I go. I've used these white squares to join all the colourful squares. I did that ages ago, sort of at the time that I did the blanket, but I never went back and sorted out a tutorial for just the basic squares, which I've finally done, so that's something. So I have achieved some things, I suppose, over the 3 weeks, or however long it is since we last spoke. Yeah, so anyway, that's up on the YouTube channel if you would like it, and I also flipped the video so there's a left-handed version as well. So yeah, don't want to ignore you left-handers. So I have done. Let's move on to what I'm doing now. Basically, I've still got the same things on the go that we talked about last time. So I've got my comfort stripe granny blanket still going. I didn't bother to bring that up to show you though, because you know, it's kind of the same but just with a few more rows, so not a lot of progress has happened there. And then I've got my cardigan on the go, but that has changed since you last seen it, so I thought it was worth showing you that. So last time I showed you it was just a rectangular strip, I think. But now we have, if I can get the thing the right way up and in some kind of shape to show you. Oh blimey, this is hard to fit on. Now we actually have a cardigan, sort of, with sleeves. This one is unfinished, but I think this one is an actual sleeve. I'm finally getting there. It's been ever so slow progress on this. I could have finished this in half the time it's taken me faffing around with it, but I don't know. I've been very procrastinating on everything, even crafty things. I've just been leaving things lately. Can't seem to settle to anything. So even though I like working on this when I do work on it, and it progresses nice and quickly when I actually do anything on it, but I don't know, for some reason I just haven't been compelled to pick things up. It's strange. I don't know if it's just this whole lockdown and, you know, the sort of amount of time it's been going on now. It feels like it's sort of getting a bit harder now. I don't know what it is. It's weird. But anyway, slow progress is better than no progress. So I need to finish my other sleeve, and then I can finally put a little bit on the bottom and some bands on, and then I will be done. I'm getting quite low on yarn though. I'm holding it double, so although I've got 2 balls left, that's only, you know, I'll use both of those at once, so it's like I've only got 1 ball left really, and a little bit left. That should do my other sleeve quite nicely. I think it'll be enough still though. And I'm using this. Come and focus. There we go. Baby Drops Alpaca. The colour is, what is the colour? 1306, which I believe was the powder. It's 70% alpaca, 30% silk, and they call it Yarn Group A, which I've no idea what that means, but it's 3.5mm needles. I'd say it's about a 4-ply, so sort of sock weight-ish, sport weight, sock weight-ish. Yeah, not a lot else to say about that really, is there? It feels nice and squishy. And of course it's getting really warm here now, so the last thing I want is a really chunky, squishy, hot cardigan. So that doesn't exactly spur you on to work on it either, does it really, I suppose, because you're like, oh, it's too warm. I wanted it a few weeks ago. I could have had it finished a few weeks ago. Never mind. Let me check my extensive notes and show you, check that I've told you everything. Right, so that's everything I've done, it's everything I'm doing. Just 2 more things to show you. One is incoming goodies. I haven't had any incoming goodies for a long while. So I've got one. I haven't actually taken it out of the box yet because it was wrapped up so prettily. Let's see if I can show you. Look. Totally not the best or easiest way to show you yarn. Isn't it pretty though? So it's from, let's wait for that to focus. Nope, don't worry about me. There we go. Elderflower Stitches. Elderflowerstitches.com, and she's at Elderflower Stitches on Instagram. Let's give you a nice close-up of that. We'll focus on that now. There we go. Oh, no, it's focusing on that. Oh, my word. It's not easy, is it, with these new cameras? Difficult. Point shoes, that is, on Super Sock, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 125 meters per 100 grams. It's just a really, I don't know if it's doing the colour justice. I put automatic white balance on. I figured that would be best, but it feels like it's making this a little bit cooler than it is. Feels like it's a little bit warmer and peachier in real life. Stop focusing on that. Focus on this. Well, perhaps because I'm not holding it still enough, I don't know. Let's still try and focus on the other thing. No. 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 Oh my gosh. Seriously. Now it's focusing on a little bit of square over there. That's more like a face than... Wow. Maybe I'll put a picture in as well so you can see the colour. Ooh, okay. Unexpected learning curve. I was well worried about the sound and getting the video sort of onto the computer and all that sort of thing, and whether the battery would last, and didn't actually think about the focusing issue. Yes, anyway, so that's gorgeous. I've got 4. I showed you that, you know that, so that I could make some sort of garment if I wanted to. Oh gosh, now it's flashing at me and doing some sort of countdown thing. What's that for? What does that mean? I'm going to stop and start again. Maybe it's because it only does 20 minutes at a time or some such thing. Yeah, and maybe because it was at 18 minutes. Is that an overheating thing? What's that for? Right, anyway, the last thing I was going to talk to you about, well actually I was going to say about that, I just put my Ziggy Interrupted scarf up there behind me today, just because that's another thing. I've seen a lot of things pop up on Instagram. Who was it? Oh, I've forgotten her name. Is it Kirsty Glass? Christy Glass? Oh, I'm doubting myself now. I'll pop it down here. Yeah, she's a knitter primarily, I think, and she does the what sweater you wear to Rhinebeck videos, I think, in America. She's American. Yeah, so she made a version of it, I think, and she made a really lovely one, and she'd used advent, like a yarn advent calendar minis to do it, which is like a brilliant idea. It's kind of made me think maybe I ought to make another one. I kind of like think of this as like an autumn colours one, and I kind of had in my mind about, oh, maybe a spring colours one might be nice. So that's kind of sparked off that idea, and just the idea of using yarn advent calendars I really like. Anyway, so she'd posted a video about the ones she'd made, and I think that sort of made a little flurry of people pop up and show what they're making as well. So that's been quite nice. I've been enjoying seeing all the lovely colourful versions of that about. And then the other thing I thought that's been happening lately is I've been getting a few questions about my yarn cakes, and I'm just looking around and I haven't got a single one to show you. Hang on, let me get one. Yes, so this is, oh, I'm looking at, oh, this is so difficult. Because you have to look at it to check things are focused, but then you have to remember to look back when it's actually filming you. Yeah, so this is the kind of cakes that my yarn winder makes, and I quite often get questions about it, so I thought I would show you it. So this is my yarn winder, and it is the, I think it's just called the Mega Winder. So it's a Knit Pro one. I'll just show you that on there. Knit Pro. I I have no idea if that's focused on that actually. Which is Knitter's Pride in America, I believe. And you can get the natural wood one like this, or there's one in the sort of multicoloured wood that they use, which I can't remember the name of either. Gosh, I'm so informative. They do knitting needles, and they come in these colourful wood colours, but they do a winder in the colourful wood colours as well, but I liked this natural colour, so that's what I used. But yes, it's got this sort of rubber cord. If I just pop it on. Expertly shown here. I'm sure you'll all get a marvellous idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, so if you put the little cord on, and then when you wind this, and the yarn goes through that bit, and it winds up on there. So because it's so huge there, you can get a really big skein ball. This is just a normal 100 gram 4-ply yarn ball, so that goes on there quite easily, but you can't, the idea is you can get even bigger sort of amounts and wind up even bigger amounts if that's something you need to do. But I wanted it to have this flat base, because the ones that you clip onto the side of the table, I just struggle to find anywhere to clip things on most of the time, just haven't got space. Whereas if I just put this down, it comes with a little clip as well. There's a little groove here, and there's a clamp that sits on it, so you can clamp it to the table, but at least it sort of sits still, and I can kind of just put my hand on it and just wind, which is what I do 90% of the time anyway, so this was a lot easier for that. And then my Swift that I use with it is in here. This is just a bag I made for it, and it's a wooden Swift as well. So when I bought this, they called it an Amish Swift. I haven't seen it sort of called that since, but I got this a long time ago, so I don't know if that's the correct terminology for it, or if that's very much incorrect terminology for it. But that's what it was called at the time. The clamp from the winder has got caught in here now. There we are, there's the clamp, so that you can pop it on the table and that clamps it up nicely. Do you know, I never have this much trouble getting the stuff out of here any other time in the whole history of using this thing, apart from when I'm trying to show it on a podcast. And so there's the stand for it, so you put the little cross on to make the feet, and then in here I've got the little pegs. So you get this. Woo. You've probably seen me do this on vlogs actually, I don't know why I'm bothering to show you. It's not like you don't know how it works. So the little peg goes in there, and then these go on in a cross shape like this, and then you get these 4 other pegs, and there's holes, which I'm going to expertly show you now. Depending on how big your hank is, you can stretch it out. So if it's only a small one, you can put it on these ones and go right out. Mostly I just put them on the end ones, but occasionally I need to adjust it. That was weird sound. I think there's a pigeon on the roof. So they sit like that, and then you can wrap your hank around it, and it's all very easy. But I liked it because it folded down. You know, I could take it all apart and it just didn't take up much space, which was the most important thing. I don't have anywhere to leave it out or anything. And the umbrella ones, again, that you clamp to the side, trouble to find spaces to clamp them to the side, and have trouble, you know, with space leaving it out. So just something that was easier, or I felt this was easier to pack away all the time. What else was I going to say about it? Oh, who it is by, that's what I thought you might like to know. It's a Chowgo one. And I was going to show you the logo like like I can't be trusted to tell you who it's by. I have to prove it by showing you the logo. That just doesn't make any sense, does it really? But there you go, if that will focus on that. Have we got focus? I can't even tell. There we go, I think. I think I had to force it. Oh, it's gone again. Maybe I'll go back to my normal recording system next time, because this is a bit of a pain sometimes. Yeah, so that's what I use to wind up my hanks of lovely yarn into these balls. So this I brought so long ago, I can't even remember how much it was. I literally got it over, well, 10 years ago, I would say, probably over 10 years ago, so it's all I've ever used for that. And then this I got a few years ago as a birthday present, and this was more expensive. I think I got it for something around 70 or 80 pounds. I don't know if they'd be even more now, because they're from America. And it was quite hard to get hold of over here. I had to wait for stocks to come in, and sort of was checking a few different places till I eventually found one. I think you can get the multicoloured wooden ones a little bit easier. Seem to have more of those about, but because I wanted the natural wood one, I had to wait a little bit longer. But that was fine. But yeah, I considered it worth investing in because I wind up quite a lot of yarn. But obviously, the kind of just the normal clip-on to the table ones work just as well, so it's not like you have to spend that vast amount of money on one. It's just I particularly wanted one that was a bit smoother and nicer and was flat like that. But anyway, yes, I thought I would just quickly tell you, because I have a few questions about that, and since I didn't think I would have much material to share with you today on the vlog, I thought I'd pad it out with a bit of answering that question. I have got a little bit of vloggy footage, but not a lot. So I will shove whatever I've got on the end. Probably just a sort of dog walk in the woods type thing. I don't think I've got anything else. I'm running up against that problem of, you know, having nothing new to show you. We're sort of doing the same things week after week, or that we've done before, because there's not much else to do. So, you know, if you watched the vlog I put on the end of the last podcast, we've pretty much still been doing those things, really. Just watch that again, and that'd be it, really. Right, so I shall leave it there then. Thank you ever so much for coming to join me for this little chat, and I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're hanging in there and you know, enjoying those little crafty moments whenever you get them. And I'm doing the same. And I shall hopefully speak to you soon. I'll see you next time. Bye! feel stronger. That is hilarious.